Hello and welcome to the Talk FS podcast. In this episode, it's a great learning opportunity for current or aspiring mortgage advisors as we sit down with Mike Morris, Operations Manager, who leads a team of mortgage advisors within Andrews Mortgage Services. We'll be looking at what sparked his career change from IT recruitment to mortgages, the journey he's embarked upon as he's then climbed the ladder from advisor to manager, and also take a deep dive into how to be a successful mortgage advisor within an estate agency model. So Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
No problem at all. So if you don't mind, let's dive in. It'd be great to understand that change you went through because you had sort of a 10-year career in recruitment and then you moved into mortgages. What was that like for you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Quite a career change, actually, really, if you think about it. But I found the transition to be relatively straightforward in terms of a lot of the skills were quite transferable. And I think looking back on it, I actually started my mortgage advice career well and quite quickly because of the skills and the techniques that I'd gained whilst working in recruitment. If you think about recruitment is sales, it's winning relationships, creating good impressions, spotting opportunity, closing the sale, building long-term relationships, all those types of things. It's basically a role where you need to be a people person. And I think mortgage advice is exactly the same. So, yes, there was some compliance you've got to learn. You've got to learn how to do the job, make sure you're doing the best thing for your customer as a mortgage advisor. But I feel like the way to succeed as a mortgage advisor is not by knowledge of lenders and criteria. It's by being a people person. And that is exactly what you are within recruitment as well. So, steady transition, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that compliance element. Do you think that was one of the bits that surprised you coming into the mortgage advice industry in terms of, going from that recruitment to mortgages? Was it the compliance that sort of threw you off?
To be honest, it was just initially it felt a little bit overwhelming in terms of how much I felt like there was to learn. It feels like when you come into the mortgage industry initially, you need to not like learn all the lenders, but learn all their niches, learn all their different criteria points, and actually know it in your head. That's the assumption coming into it, is you have to learn this and know it in your head. The reality is there's tools that we use that can obviously help us, and over time you build that knowledge and you build that ability to go, oh, do you know what? That would be great for this lender, or that would be great for this situation. But when you are new into it, you don't have to know it from day one. And that was, I think, the thing for me. It was the expectation that you had to know all that sort of stuff. But then the reality is, there are tools to help, and also people around that can help as well to make that a bit easier. So, no, I've found using the people skills, as I've just said, coming into it really helped in terms of basically building customers, getting a customer bank, having people coming back to me saying, Mike really likes chatting to you. I want you to do my mortgage. And then once it came to doing the mortgage, yes, there's a lots of compliance. Yes, there's things to be aware of and techniques that you need to know. But fundamentally, as long as you've got some support there and some assistance around, then you'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It must be hard for, individuals who come in to mortgages in a very isolated environment in comparison to a business like, you joined where you've got that team who you can pick up the phone to, especially during those early days.
I can't imagine, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's people that have done this and they've been very successful, but I can't imagine going into the mortgage industry as a brand new mortgage advisor, having never done it before, self-employed, working on your own. That must be really, really tough because you don't have that support network around you. You don't have people around you, perhaps. So you really are just kind of learning on your feet, and you're learning on your feet with people's lives, with people's mortgages. Don't get me wrong. I think people probably do it, and there are people that will do it successfully. So, but I just think if you're only coming into the industry, if you can find an environment that's going to have a support network there, experienced advisors that you can call upon, that you can discuss cases with, bounce ideas back off of, whether you've got a decent structure within that environment that checks your cases, make sure you're compliant, make sure you haven't made any kind of big errors that's going to hurt you later on down the line, then that's the place that you want to be for your early years as a mortgage advisor, really, whilst you're honing all that in and building the good habits that you want to build.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And in terms of that transition from recruitment to mortgages, what was it about mortgages that drew you in?
I'll be honest with you. I think it's the fact that you're helping people. You're still working with people. I used to really enjoy in recruitment, that moment when you've done a really good job and you found somebody a good job and a job offers there, they accept it, you do a really good onboarding process, and then you speak to them 3 months into the job and they're loving it. That was a fantastic experience as a recruiter. And I think similarly as a mortgage advisor, really, some people have an awful lot of questions. They're answering all their questions. They're really quite nervous. They're unsure about things, but the ability to put them at ease, help them through that journey so that they feel like they're in good hands, and then get them that mortgage, which fundamentally is getting them their nice home that they're looking forward to living in, or investment that they've been saving up to purchase or whatever, and then continuing that relationship long term, keeping in touch, and them just being really happy with the service that you gave, but thankful for the advice that you gave as well. It's equally, it's probably even, it's better than the feelings from the recruitment side of things. And it's that really drove me to it. It's the mortgage and protection advice is very much long-term career, where you're supporting people, working with people, and making a difference to their lives and their finances. And that is appealing, and in the same ways as it recruitment was appealing and rewarding from that industry as well. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I remember obviously in my role, being in recruitment and leading the team here, when we get new people join the team who've never done recruitment before, I'll like within the induction sort of say, I don't think you'll realize how powerful you feel because you have an impact on people's lives. And I can imagine it being the same with mortgages because, between if you their fix comes to an end and you speak to them again, their life might have moved on. They might have another kid by that point, and you get to see that whole journey, don't you? In terms of, and that house they so keen to buy, and you can help facilitate, through working with the right lender, working, how can you maximize their affordability and everything all in a compliant way, but get them that dream house. And it must be a powerful feeling once you can give them that good news.
it's long-term relationships. I mean, just as well as I do from the recruitment world, what's the phenomenal thing about the recruitment world can be is that you can get somebody their dream job, and then you can keep in touch with them, and then you can continue to work with them. Either if you've brought them in as a manager, or if they work their way up within the business, you can then keep in touch with that person, and then they come to you and they trust you as the individual that's going to help them to recruit for their team maybe in the future. You can have that long-term journey with an individual and really feel like you are a partner to their business. That's the capability within recruitment, is you're not somebody that they've just employed to do a job and then you disappear. You can become an important integral partner to their business, which helps a business succeed. And in mortgages, it's the same. You can get to know people on that personal level, where you get to know their family, you get to know their personalities, etc. You can get them their dream home, and that dream home might be something that was just about affordable to them, like in that first instance. And then you keep in touch with them, and they might have kids, and they might want to then expand their family, and then it's you that they're trusting to help them in that next move to a bigger home. And then you're talking about their children and the importance of the protection side of it, and everything like that. And it's similar because, in the recruitment, you can feel like a real partner to a business, helping them succeed business wise. And in mortgages, you can feel like a real partner almost to a family, and really helping them to succeed in their family goals and their family success. And it's really, really empowering. And I think a lot of people move into both industries, recruitment and mortgages, thinking about almost the sales aspect of it, and the money that you can earn, and the earning commission on what you do and things like that. And those things are absolutely important. And again, they're quite similar in the fact that you can be rewarded directly for your own good work. Um, but the empowering, the feeling that you get when you're really helping either a business or helping a family, I think is, yeah, like you say, people don't, until they experience it, they don't really understand that or don't expect it.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And just to jump ahead here a second, because I would love to, go on to your journey from advisor to manager, but putting your manager's hat on a second, when you're looking at individuals who want to join your team who aren't necessarily experienced in mortgages, are
Hmm.
you looking for those traits where they're motivated by making that difference?
I'm looking for fundamentally people that have personality and what seem to be the right type of attitude and the right type of behaviors. Because the way to succeed within mortgages is to be that to be service driven in terms of how you operate with your customers. It's about the customer experience, and to have the personality and to have that kind of likableness about you that people will buy into you. You know,
Yeah.
people buy from people that they like fundamentally. And so that's what I'm looking for when I'm talking to inexperienced advisors that don't have lots of knowledge of the industry, but they're keen to get cracking. I'm looking for personality, likability, the right type of behaviors and attitude when dealing with customers, and motivation to basically get going with it and succeed and become a top performer. Those are the things that I'm looking for. So yeah, the rest of it can be taught. I'd much rather have somebody who has the right behaviors and the right motivation, that needs to be taught about mortgages and lenders and criteria and compliance, than have somebody that has lots of experience doing the role, understands lenders down to a T, understands compliance, but isn't motivated,
Mm.
or is awkward when working with customers or colleagues. You know, I'd much have somebody that lacks some knowledge and experience, but has that kind of spark about them as a person.
Yeah, definitely. It's all well and being good, being a subject matter expert, but you've got to have, the ability to build that rapport because, mortgages is a competitive space. There's plenty of mortgage advisors out there who would happily take the business off you if they could.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's about creating the right first impressions. It's about giving the right customer experience. Similarly, again, I suppose, we're going through this. There's an awful lot of similarities between mortgages and recruitment, but, by doing the right thing by the customer, consistently doing what you say you're going to do,
Mm.
not trying to pull any wool over any eyes, and being open and honest, that can actually just get you above your competition. There are people in the recruitment industry, and there are people in the mortgage industry that, maybe their behaviors aren't exactly right, and maybe they don't do what they say they're going to do. So by being that just good person, and promoting and focusing on customer experience, you can get yourself ahead of the market in, like you say, what is quite a competitive market. But it's about the follow up as well, and this is what I always work with my team on. It's, you could do an amazing first meeting with a customer and absolutely blow their socks off, and they think that you're amazing and think to themselves that this, Ryan's the person I'm going to be working with to do my mortgage. But if you don't follow it up and you don't speak to them again for 2 months, you're not going to get that business. So it's about having some good habits in place as well, around just consistent communication, touching base, answering questions, and then following up an initial good experience with more good experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that organization of having your pipeline of active cases, but also those ones to be keeping an eye on is so important. And that's in all types of sales, isn't it? Recruitment, mortgages, but it is so important with the mortgage process because it's an elongated, uh, phase to it, isn't it? You got to stay present, otherwise someone will just swoop in and take it from you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, completely agree. I mean, your business is there to be lost at the end of the day. You have the opportunity to win it and to keep it, but if you don't do the right things, you will lose it to somebody else. There's always somebody there that's happy to take your customers from you if you give them that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at your career, so you joined mortgages 4 years ago now.
Yep.
Around the start of COVID, which was coincidental, I think, wasn't it? It wasn't because of COVID. It was you were planning on making that move anyway.
Yeah, I
Into
was. I was planning on making the move, but I think COVID kind of it almost gave me the platform to do so. A couple of
Mhm.
changes in my life and my personal circumstances, but also, I suppose COVID happening and everyone being at home on furlough, etc. It gave me the opportunity to, make that move, because it's difficult when when you've been in a career for 10 years, like I was in recruitment. You're kind of at a level where you're earning a certain amount of money. You feel comfortable. You've built up a client base, so it's difficult to change careers and move into something else, regardless of how much you want to do it. You have to have that ability and that platform to make that jump. And COVID, I think, actually for myself, it kind of just helped me to do that. I was able to sit back and go, right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it now. Now's the opportunity. So don't let this pass by and then come out of COVID and go back into recruitment and then it's difficult again. So that's when I just kind of, make that plunge and made the move across. But I was confident that my people skills was going to make that possible for me and for me to be able to build back up to my, you know, income levels that I was used to, etc., relatively quickly. I mean, it takes a bit of time, it always does. The mortgage process is not quick, but yeah, I was confident in doing it and just jumped for it.
Yeah, good on you. It's a big thing to do that career change. We saw a lot of it ourselves over that COVID period of people making that change from whatever industry into mortgages and financial planning. And it's so pleasing to see so many people reap the rewards of that, really. So you made the jump across, and within a short period, you're now operations manager for the business. So leading the team. So I know when we talked previously, that was never your intention 4 years ago, but it's organically came about for you. So talk us through that move from advisor to manager and what you've learned along the way.
It's been quite a different one, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, you're absolutely right. When I joined mortgages 4 years ago, my idea was be a mortgage and protection advisor until the day I retire. That was why I made the move, because I saw that as my long term career and something that I could be good at and succeed in. But I was, I guess, fortunate enough to be in an environment with the business that I work for that there are opportunities come about. We're a medium-sized business. We're not a big corporate where you're just a cog and and you feel a little bit undervalued. We're not a really small family business where there isn't lots of room. I think I was just quite fortunate that I was working with a medium-sized business where we had about 20 mortgage advisors. So I was able to move up the ranks and become a top performer as a mortgage and protection advisor. And then it just, when meetings happen and stuff, I kind of naturally was one of those people that would just kind of speak up a little bit for the team, ask some challenging questions sometimes, come up with some ideas of things that we could do with my management. And actually, I think when the opportunity came about to move into a little bit more of a leadership type role, I felt like, again, that was a challenge not something that I'd actually done before, but it was a challenge that I felt quite excited about. That ability to move into, right, what can I do with a team? Can we get a team performing a little better? Can we work on some processes? Can I offload some of the experiences I've got to some other people that are new to the industry and can benefit from it? And you know what? Even to this day now, whenever I'm kind of working with people, helping them, coaching them, etc., it's still the skills that I learned in recruitment that I'm passing on to them. But it's just the way that it is. I've just got a bit of a little bit of a background in mortgages behind me now, which gives it, I suppose, a bit more substance. But the move into management is really different, actually. So I find recruitment to mortgages quite straightforward because of the similarities, but then moving into management, it's not. It's completely different type of skills that you need, and so now I'm having to learn new skills, and it's been quite a steep learning curve. But what I really enjoy is two things. I'm really enjoying seeing other people grow, and myself having potentially some sort of a hand in that, however small it might have been. I never take anyone's growth away from them. It's down to them. They've got to want to do it and they've got to achieve it. But if I've helped in some way, then that's really rewarding. And also, I just quite enjoy and I've really got into operating at a strategic level within a business. I'm really enjoying just getting into the nitty gritty of a business, understanding how it's working, understanding what I can do and what my team can do to impact the overall success. I think both as recruitment consultants and as mortgage advisors, we kind of look after our own desk. You almost treat it as your own little business, and you look after your own desk and you look after yourself and your customers. Whereas now I'm thinking about the team and I'm thinking about the wider business and what can we do to help that. And it's very different, but it's I'm finding it really enjoyable and really exciting. But I'm definitely learning a lot of new things.
That's really good. I'm really pleased for you. And for me, listening to you there, it's the messages I'm taking away is, really applying yourself. you put your mind to it with moving from the recruitment to mortgages, but also in those meetings when you were an advisor, you were applying yourself, you were putting yourself forward, and that led you to naturally be viewed as a manager, and it was sort of kind of a given when the business was looking to make that appointment, and it was like, well, who else but Mike? And so, you just got to put yourself out there sometimes, haven't you? And with no expectation of what's going to happen, but then quite quickly in a year, 2 years, you look back and go, I'm really glad I did that.
Yeah, most definitely. And it comes down to, I think, again, just general attitude and behaviors of almost like wanting more, wanting to improve. I'm always somebody that's wanted to improve my processes, improve my habits, improve the experience that I'm giving to customers, but not just for me. I've also wanted to try and like, can it be improved for everybody? And I think that kind of motivation to move forwards and progress is what, without me really trying or knowing I was doing it, kind of putting my name out there as somebody that could lead. Um, and then, yeah, like I said, when that opportunity came about, I, thought about it and thought, you know what, that's something I feel quite excited about. Let's give it a go. To put my toe in the water a little bit to start with, trying to do a bit of mortgage advice and a bit of leadership, sort of hand in hand at the same time. Found that quite difficult, to be perfectly honest with you. I think getting pulled towards mortgage advice by my customers and by the business to generate income as a mortgage advisor, whilst also being pulled by my team for assistance and support and everything like that, I found it really difficult to juggle. I believe that you need to work out what it is you want to do and then focus on it really. So I've been really pleased. This last year I'm 100% manager. I'm not giving advice anymore. I still absolutely keep abreast of what's going on in the market and love the mortgage industry and how it changes and the developments that it makes. But I'm 100% manager, focusing on the team and what we can deliver for the wider business. And I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, definitely. I think once you get to a certain size in your sales team, there has to be that transition, because it is hard when you try and do your own sales. I know that firsthand myself, when I get candidates contact me, and I could look after them myself,
Mm.
but actually I very often just sort of pass them out to my team. I trust them implicitly, and it's like, look, I'll keep you guys busy, and my role is to make sure as a business we're growing, we're moving in the right direction, and I'm here to train and develop and everything. But whilst I could earn more if I keep the fee for myself, I'd rather give it away to someone else. And I think as a business, and I hope as a business, we will grow more, and I'll the business will grow and earn more by me making that choice. And I think there is a tipping point as to where that makes sense. Obviously, in a smaller team, if you've only got a handful of salespeople in your team, well, you kind of just need to get stuck in, because you might as well. But yeah, it makes sense. Fantastic. So yeah, that's been really, really insightful. And the other theme I want to cover in today's episode is about the estate agency side of mortgages, because from my perspective in recruitment, we specialize in financial services. So, mortgage advisors in or connected to estate agencies is a big part of the industry. I feel it can be misunderstood sometimes. Estate agencies do have a reputation for being very target driven, just like recruitment. And obviously, we've talked a lot about that already. And so I feel there are mortgage advisors who think, oh, I don't want to be an estate agency because it's very cutthroat. And, the sales team, I don't want to be aligned to them. But obviously, you made that move from recruitment to Andrews, and you're absolutely loving it, and you're now growing the team. I'd love to understand your insight on how best to work within an estate agency model, and maybe some of the misconceptions within that type of environment.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no problem at all. I mean, working within an estate agency, I don't think it's any different really to any other industry. There's always going to be companies that would fit you as an individual and would be the right place for you to sit. And there's always going to be companies within that industry that maybe wouldn't fit you as an individual and isn't going to be the right place for you. Some people will be much more KPI driven than others. Some people will be much more micromanagement than others, etc. So I would say don't tar estate agency with the same brush and say, well, that's KPI driven, that's micromanagement, that's not an environment I want to work in. What you need to do is explore those businesses, speak to them, and then see how it feels for you. Because I wouldn't want to work for a company that was really heavy KPIs, really heavy micromanagement, just someone watching over your shoulder all the time. I believe in people being able to bring their own personality, their own ideas into things. Yes, there's always going to be some processes you need to follow because of compliance and things like that, and making sure that you don't trip up. But fundamentally, I'm a believer of giving people the space. I mean, I said to you just earlier on, when I'm looking to recruit people, I want to recruit their personality and their likability. So why would I then stifle that by telling them exactly what to do and how to do it? I want their personality to come through with my customers. So estate agency isn't all the same. Different businesses are completely different, and it's about finding the right one for yourself. I think within Andrews estate agency or mortgage services, it's about bringing your personality to the table, and having that customer experience approach. But fundamentally, it's about understanding that you're in two different teams. That's the way I see it. You join us at Andrews Mortgage Services, and you are part of the mortgage services team, and you've got 19 other advisors that are there, that you work together, you can talk to each other about cases, and there's a lot of experience that will support you and help you. But you're also in a team with an estate agency branch, so to speak, and they are the people that are booking you appointments and giving you leads. The benefits of working within an estate agency environment is that you get leads provided to you. You haven't got to go to, networking events necessarily and find them yourself. You can do. The good people will still go and find their own appointments as well alongside it to supplement it. But fundamentally, you're provided with leads. So you've got to have that ability to work with the team of estate agents, and it's not rocket science. It's what we were talking about earlier about just being a good person. It's being supportive, giving hints and tips, being thankful, appreciative, giving feedback. When these people are booking you appointments and opportunity, it's just acting in those ways. And if you do that, they will book you more opportunity, and you'll be more successful because you'll have more opportunity to go off of. So that's the only thing about working as a mortgage and protection advisor within an estate agency environment, is just understanding that you do need to work with the estate agency because they're the one that's supplying you with your leads fundamentally. But it's no different to working in any other team. You can get on, you can socialize, you can help each other, you can share what worked, share what didn't work, and all just kind of try and succeed together, really. And it's amazing, actually, that you can be a mortgage and protection advisor but get a real bit of satisfaction when one of your colleagues, whether that be another mortgage advisor or whether it be an estate agent, it improves their performance and is doing better. And again, you may have had a little bit of a hand in that as a colleague. So that's the thing to be aware of, really, in terms of just doing it within our industry of estate agency. It's just, you just need to make sure you're being a good person to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And the message is, if you're not quite happy in your role right now, and if you are an estate agent or in a bank or in a broker, maybe it's not that model is wrong. You're just in the wrong environment for whatever reason. You've not got the right support, not got the right team around you, whatever it might be. And that's where, do your research, speak to a recruiter, because they should be able to know about those environments and different things, and look at your wish list and look at what's the needs and wants, and then hopefully you're able to find the right move that obviously progress you in your career, or just makes you fundamentally happier, which will make you perform better, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's different things that you can look for in a business, and this is where it boils down to it not just being about estate agency. I mean, when I joined Andrews, I was really motivated by the fact that they were owned by a charitable trust. That's something that is unique to the business, and it feels like an ethos of a way of working comes down from that, and it is genuinely about the customer experience, and that is how we work. But that's not an estate agency thing. That's just something about the business, which was quite good, and you might get that in other industries as well. So yeah, it is about finding the right the right place for you where you feel like you'll be able to succeed and bring the best out of you, basically. So don't write something off just because of what industry it's in. I think it's more important that people that you'll be directly working with and for, and what their outlooks are on how things should operate, really.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really good. What I'd love to get from you, Mike, is obviously you've gone through that journey very recently, and also you're a manager now, so you're having to probably give this on a weekly basis. What would be a key tip you would give to someone who maybe is in mortgages right now, maybe struggling? What tip could you give them to try and elevate that performance for them?
I think don't give up. Like, just because you're not enjoying where you are at the moment, or you're not quite succeeding to the levels that you would like to, that doesn't mean the industry or the job is wrong for you.
Hmm.
You've entered the mortgage industry for a reason. You obviously felt passionate and excited about it, and felt like you had the right type of skills to be able to succeed in it. So don't doubt yourself, is what I would say. Instead of doubting yourself, just think to yourself, right, okay, I need to understand what my weaknesses are here. What's the reason why things aren't quite right at the moment? Do a
Hmm.
bit of self-analysis, and then try and solve that problem. And if the problem is the environment that you're working within and there's nothing you can do about that, then perhaps you need to have a little look and go, right, is there a better environment for me that's going to suit me as a person better? Maybe it's just a skill issue and there's something that you just feel you're lacking in confidence in. Go and find somebody that can mentor you through that, who's really, really good at it, and learn from them. So I just think, I think a lot, sometimes when people initially start to struggle for whatever reason, they can just go into their shell a little bit, and then it just continues. The struggle just never ends. So I
Hmm.
think if you are unhappy or you are struggling, then you need to be brave and come out of your shell and go, right, what is it that's not working, and how do I fix it? And don't give up on the industry. Don't give up on yourself. Just solve the problem, because every problem can be solved, and then you'll flourish.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's so easy to try and wave a magic wand, but actually it's, this is just a storm you need to ride through, and how can you tweak it to improve your performance?
It's not necessarily a quick fix either. It may take a bit of effort and a bit of time, but it's worth it, because our industry is fantastic. If you get to that point that you find yourself, you're in an environment that suits you and that you like, and you've honed in your skills and you are feeling like you're a good advisor and you're succeeding, then you've got it. That's when you kind of turn up for work and you don't really feel like it's work, because you feel like your job is a pleasure.
Yeah, nice, 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 fantastic. And I've really enjoyed this conversation. And before we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question. What's one of the best pieces of advice you've received?
Oh, that is a good question. Best piece of advice I've received. Um, when it comes to mortgages and protection, I received some excellent advice around the protection side of things. To succeed as a mortgage and protection advisor, you need to really prioritize protection. But it's not prioritizing protection because of the extra commission that you can earn or anything like that. I think you need to really get to know your customers, and then you'll really care about the work that you do for them, and making sure that they're protected, because that is the where I see protection advisors maybe not succeed, is they just don't do the protection, and maybe they're scared of it, or they don't understand it themselves, or I don't know, but I was always very good at the protection side, and I very much um, encourage my team to be very strong on protection, but it's because it's the right thing to do by the customer. If we really get to know our customers and then like our customers, we will protect them with the relevant insurance. And I think it's that mindset is almost like the best. I'm not sure whether it was advice, but it was a conversation that I had, or an experience that I had, where I felt, this is really the right thing to do by the customer, and that's when it clicked for me. As a mortgage and protection advisor, is when I really just started. I thought, right, this is caring about the customers and doing the right thing for them. And then, do you know what? It's not sales. It's just everything falls into place.
Yeah, that's really nice. And yeah, it is so often. And, being in my position, I'm able to ask a lot of advisors, a lot of clients,
Mm.
who are often business owners, what is your protection, ratio like? And it's scary sometimes what the ratios are. And it's pleasing, you know, firms who have got it right, whether it's the team do it very well or whether they've got a protection specialist who mops up everything. But it is scary still how underutilized and underprotected, you know, the public are when it comes to, you know, how many have mortgages and how many don't. And yeah, I'd love to be able to just like that pull the stat out. Wouldn't that be wonderful for the podcast if I could say what the average is like?
I have a phrase, and I heard this phrase, and it just resonated with me straight away. And I would use it with my customers because I think it makes sense, and I also talk to my team about it. And somebody who, so if that time comes where there's a life impacting thing that happens to you, you will either be somebody who made a smart decision, took out protection, and then boy, will you be glad that you did.
Mm.
Or you'll be somebody that made a bad decision, didn't take out protection, and then boy, will you feel bad about yourself that you didn't. And it's picturing that moment when something life impacting happens. Do you want to be somebody that took out the protection, or do you want to be somebody who didn't? And that really resonated with me. I don't ever, and for me, it's about, as an advisor, is about making sure that you put that effort in and you make sure your customers understand that as well, as passionately as you feel about it as well. One thing I absolutely despise, and you see it all the time, is you speak to customers and they've taken out a mortgage in the past or whatever, and just nobody even really bothered to talk to them about it.
Mm.
And that for me is because those customers had no choice. Nobody informed them that life impacting thing potentially happens, and they haven't got insurance, but it's not their fault. They didn't make a bad decision. The advisor was poor. So the one thing that you can make sure that you do as a good mortgage and protection advisor is just make sure you have those conversations, and the customer understands the impact of any decisions that they're making, because you absolutely do not want to be an advisor who has a customer that has something go really wrong and you didn't protect them because you didn't put the effort in.
Yeah, definitely. Because, you know, that life impacting event's still going to happen, but you as an advisor or as the client, you know, you're mitigating how bad the ripple effect is then, aren't you?
Absolutely, it's about having choices, isn't it? At the end of the day, whilst you're trying to deal with whatever it is that's happened, are you going to be somebody that has choices and survives, or are you going to be somebody that has no choices? It's, it's quite, it's massive. So yeah, we really focus on the protection side here, but because it's the right thing to do, and every successful mortgage and protection advisor I've ever worked with or seen is good in that area. But they're good in that area because they 100% are bought into it and believe in it, and that's why it works.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I didn't want to end on that somber note, but but it's such a, you know, a key part of the industry, isn't it? And it is an important thing that, you know, everyone collectively together, you know, needs to take seriously. But yeah, been really, really appreciative of your time, Mike. It's been fantastic to understand that journey for you and look at, you know, what are the fundamental skills that make an advisor successful, and how that transferability is, because there is need for more mortgage advisors, there's need for more financial advisors, and you know, a lot of those personal skills we talked about could carry over into financial advice as well. So that's, yeah, been really insightful. So thank you really, you know, for coming on board, and yeah, we look forward to the next episode as well.